In the run-up to the 2004 midterm election, I took a job working as a canvasser for the Democratic Party of Oregon. I was working on the campaign of Congressman David Wu, 1st Congressional District of Oregon. That guy right there. I was really excited about the job. I felt like I was fighting the good fight, talking directly to the voters on the grassroots level, looking under every rock for every last vote that might swing the election for the Democrats. But politics was something new to me. There was a point in my life when my political leanings could have gone any number of directions. In the late 90s, I understood that Tibet needed freeing and that there were machines to be raged against. But I also grew up in a Republican family, and I was raised to appreciate hard work and taking care of yourself. Veterans made the best presidents, and I could never have pictured myself driving anything smaller than a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Until my 25th year, I was on a course for becoming one of those casual, moderate Republicans. I'd probably buy a house, vote once or twice a decade, mow the lawn on Saturday, and that's about it. But all that changed because of one man. This guy. I hated this guy from day one. It was the way politics had been boiled down to the least common denominator. It was the cheap photo ops, the talking points seemingly engineered to deter discussion. It was the way complex geopolitical situations were summed up in 3 choice, immutable words. And the most upsetting part of it all was that shit worked. While I was out canvassing, it amazed me the way the latest non-issue of the day hung so significantly in people's minds. You might hear it on TV and write it off as something trivial, but on the ground, people talked about it. About whether a candidate was fit because he may have gotten Botox, or couldn't catch a football, or looked unpresidential while he yelled "Yeehaw" on the stage. It occurred to me just how image-conscious politicians had to be, constantly guarding themselves, constantly playing to the crowd. For this reason, I developed a respect for guys like Howard Dean and Wesley Clark. They had been against the war in Iraq from the beginning, while other politicians swayed with public sentiment. I was also happy to learn that Congressman David Wu, the candidate I was working for, was also one of the few vocal opponents of the war from the beginning. On the night of the election, I stayed late at the office with most of the other staff, waiting for the results to come in. I'm sure you're all aware of who won that night. That guy. I was pretty bummed about this, but on a positive note, the campaign I worked on was a success. David Wu won re-election as well. He was in the office that night. I wanted to congratulate him on his victory, maybe shake his hand. But first there was a group of college students that worked in the office, and right now they were gathering together for a group picture with the congressman. As they were taking the photos, I noticed something strange. David Wu didn't change his composure between shots. Most people put on a smile right before you take the picture, then drop it, and then put it back on again for the next one. But David Wu held still between every shot. That smile right there stayed frozen on his face. I imagine this is something that politicians were trained to do, to always have that photogenic smile ready. But his face had been perfectly still for a couple minutes now, and it was starting to creep me out. He looked like a wax sculpture or one of those horrible plastic surgery disasters. So for the final shot, one of the kids in the group, he yelled out, "Horns, everybody, let's do the horns!" And I assumed this was part of some inside joke, a sign of camaraderie, because they all got a big kick out of the idea. But right there in the middle was David Wu. A slight change on his expression betrayed that he had no clue what was going on. The countdown to cheese began. A couple people even stuck out their tongues and made snarling faces. And at the last moment, before the flash was to go off, David Wu, smiling bright, just like they taught him, brought up his hand next to his face and held up 2 fingers for the peace sign. At that moment, I decided it might be best if I just leave right now and never come back.
Nathan Young.